Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about the Denver Nuggets, in particular, why their first preseason game I think gave me more questions than it did answers, and one specific coaching change that I think could implement and could really benefit them as a whole. Let's go. So the concept of this video is going to be really based upon the idea of space and how Denver, they need to make sure that you give Jokić and you give Jamal Murray space on the inside. So here's one good example, as you essentially had a little back screen set, and this allowed Aaron Gordon to kind of pop free, and the defense respected him as a shooter, and he was able to dump the ball inside to get Jamal Murray working one-on-one, and a nice finish by Jamal Murray. These are the exact kind of shots that Denver is looking for, and we see another one in this example, and this is actually something I talked about with Cam Johnson, is it might open up cuts because we saw a couple of them with the Nuggets, or with the Nets, but Jokić is such a good passer that his spacing on the perimeter as they run essentially the idea is a flare screen over here, and Cam Johnson curled it because they respected him and came out here, and so that gave him space on the inside, and a great pass by Jokić and a great finish. But the reason I'm highlighting these as good examples of space is because they were not common. It was most of the time it was not given enough space. And so these examples I think are ones that we want to learn from. And here we can see on the opposite side, the key thing is that these guards are interchanging, and that so occupies these defenders, and so they're attached to them and distracted. Neither of them is looking in towards the ball, and so that allows Watson to come off this screen or dribble handoff and be able to have nobody in front of him. And Valanciunas does a good job getting a piece of his player, and that allows a clean finish, or a relatively clean finish at the rim. But then we look at some of the issues of Denver not getting space. And so these are the ones that I think we got to learn from. We got to figure out how to not reproduce this, how to make sure that we have good spacing on the inside. And so here, the first thing I want to highlight is that McDaniels here, this defender, Cam Johnson's like a 45% shot. And so Jamal Murray rises up here. And so this is one of the big things is this is a good shot by Jamal Murray. That is not a bad shot, but over Rudy Gobert, it's still a difficult shot. If you have Cam Johnson with that much distance in the corner, I think your mentality has to switch to I'm going to kick the ball out and Cam Johnson is going to rise up versus I'm going to shoot. It's a good shot. It's still a good shot in my opinion. But I think that mentality is what leads to this clogged paint, especially against teams like the Timberwolves. And so one of the big concepts I'm going to highlight about Christian Braun and Aaron Gordon is they're kind of hesitant to shoot the ball a little bit. And so I think that also is part of the thing that allows defenses to pack in space. And so that's something we don't want. We want them to shoot without hesitancy. So here, this decision, the coaching staff told Jokić, come in here to a mid-range shot. Jokić shot 41% from three last year, and that's including heaves, and he shot 44% without heaves. Why is he not outside beyond the three-point line? I don't understand. Because you get so many better options because Rudy Gobert, if he's going to cheat all the way down here, Jokić is wide open. Or Rudy Gobert has to stay with Jokić once he hits a couple of them. Either way, it puts strain on the defense. I don't understand why Jokić was told to drift to the mid-range instead of picking out to a three-point shot. And don't get me wrong, I fully believe Jokić and Jamal Murray are going to hit those shots. I'm just trying to say for the perspective of making it easiest for the offense possible instead of making things harder. And here's another example is, I get there's 8 seconds on the shot clock, I get that, but this is probably not a shot you want if you're on offense. Aaron Gordon's a decent shooter, but him with the contested mid-range shot right here, I don't know if that's what you're looking for. I think move the ball around and find something better. And then as far as just the location of this, where the players are on offense. So here, we're going to see Jokić come off this, but I really want to highlight is how far off these defenders are playing. And because Aaron Gordon's in the dunker, this defender is 2 steps away from helping off. If you space them out to the perimeter, it would be harder for them to help because they'd have to go a longer way, and Jokić is going to punish them with passes. And so I would rather have Denver be on the space on the perimeter. Instead, Jokić is here, and he's got essentially a defender and a half to worry about. And yeah, he's going to make that shot. Jokić is a crazy elite player. But if we can make it easier by either having the spacing out here or having Jokic's first read to be passed out here to Jamal Murray if he's wide open so he can rise up to shoot that ball immediately, I think it opens up a lot of things for Denver's potential offense and even Jokić to get cleaner looks than he does already. And so this is a couple possessions later, and this I think is a much better example. This is much more what we want as a Denver fan. And so Bruce Brown makes good contact on the screen, so Rudy Gobert is not going to be able to stay with Jokić. And the defenders on the opposite side are much closer to their defenders. So here, Jokić can see the offensive player coming, or the defensive player coming out from a long way away, and you have one-on-one with a much smaller guard. And so this is what Jokić wants for sure. But more importantly, you don't have other hands, other traffic in the way because Brown got a good piece of Gobert, and so you're allowing Jokić to work one-on-one, and you have better spacing on the outside that leads to a clean look. At the end of the first half, and this is an example of something good, and I'd say it's something bad. So the first thing is, I had to look who this was up. This is Spencer Jones over here, who doesn't shoot threes. So, I mean, that's why the Timberwolves are able to help over aggressively. And so, I mean, why is he the first one off the bench? Let's put a shooter out there who can space the floor a little bit. You have decent shooters that can go there. And so one thing I do like, though, however, is as the defense rotates down, Aaron Gordon is cut into this space. I also wouldn't mind him staying out there and shooting just to spread out the defense, but he does cut into space, and Jamal Murray with a nice pass. However, I think it highlights the balance that Denver needs to strike between spacing and cutting. And some of the things that really give me hope are these two possessions right here. Is Aaron Gordon shot the ball unbelievably well last year. And so I really love the fact that they ran a play for him to be out there on the perimeter, and he didn't hesitate to shoot the ball, especially from the corner. He's a decent shooter. He shot the ball really well last year. Keep shooting that kind of shot. And then for me, it was the same situation as Christian Braun last year. He's a good shooter, same thing. He shot the ball unbelievably well, just was a little hesitant to. So shoot that ball. And so that's what I like with Bruce Brown right here, as he is left uncovered because they're so hesitant to leave the paint right here. And so Bruce Brown doesn't hesitate. He shoots that ball, and that's exactly what you want to see, man. If you get an open three, shoot that ball. And if you can't shoot that ball, then you frankly probably shouldn't be playing for Denver. And the last thing that I really think is really optimistic, and this is Valanciunas. I thought Valanciunas played very well. And so the critical thing is that they have somebody that can come in the Jokić non-minutes and essentially play a very similar style that Jokić plays. Now, it's crucial that I think we understand that Valanciunas is not going to be the efficient player that Jokić is, no matter what the situation is. But if he can win one-on-one battles, essentially against smaller players like this, that's huge for the non-Jokić minutes. And we've seen in the past that there's been dramatic drop-offs between Jokic's minutes and the non-Jokić minutes. So if you can do things to improve those by 3, 4, 5 net rating points, that would be a huge dramatic improve for Denver's overall efficiency. And so this game really ended up creating a lot of questions for me in the fact that how is Denver going to handle their spacing? They've done a good job to put more shooters on their floor, so I should like Cam Johnson. I really, really like that. And then Bruce Brown, obviously, Tim Hardaway Jr. is a decent shooter. Strother's been shooting it well. And you got Christian Braun and Aaron Gordon who have both been shooting it really well as your starters. And so I really am pretty optimistic for what Denver can do on offense this year. However, I think it's crucial that they think about how they want to increase their space on offense to give Jokić maximal efficiency. Because, I mean, he's the best player in the league, you know? Let him work. Give him the space he needs to be the Nikola Jokić that we all know and love. If you want to see a video talking about how I think Cam Johnson is going to relate to Nikola Jokić and why I'm very optimistic for that pairing, I'll post it right here. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like it. But most importantly, have a blessed rest of your day.